All right. So chapter 1, as I was just saying, is a nice little synopsis. Gives us some overarching themes, if you will, that I will be hitting on ad nauseum throughout the entire semester. Everything is connected with one thing or another here when it comes to nutrition and how the body utilizes it and whatnot. Again, if you have any questions, please jump into the chat box, type it in there, and I will get to it. So without further ado, why in the heck do we need to understand nutrition? Well, it's the basis for life. If we don't get food inside, we can't break it down, obviously, and then we can't utilize anything. All those tiny little elemental components of food is what our body utilizes to drive all of the various mechanisms within it that we're going to be looking about. Two basic things here, nutrients and nutrition. Nutrition is just the scientific study of it. And it's pretty complex. I mean, if you've read any article on nutrition, good gosh, 1 month, it's the thing that's going to save you. A year later, it's the thing that's going to kill you. So where does it stand? Probably somewhere in the middle when it comes to that extreme. But, you know, even for a lot of research right now looking at intermittent fasting is not the end all be all. It's not going to make you all of a sudden lose all of this dramatic weight. If you're an intermittent faster, solid, awesome. It is one thing. It is not necessarily the best thing. There are many things that go into helping you to lose fat, to lose body weight. You know, if your goal is to lose body fat, but not lose muscle, then intermittent fasting isn't the thing for you necessarily, according to all the research. But is it good to help lose a lot of weight? Sure. So is a lot of other things. Calories in, calories out, counting calories is just as effective. Okay, so understanding all of this scientific research can help us to understand what substances we need in our foods to help grow, to help maintain body cells, to repair body cells. Because when cells start to diminish in function, tissues start to diminish in function. Organs start to diminish in function. And that ultimately affects you, the individual, the organism. So all of these nutrients we need for a multitude of various different functions, we'll highlight some of those today. And we'll do a deeper dive into that in the next unit of all those nutrients. What is nutrition? It's a scientific study of it. What's diet? Something totally different. Diet just looks at the patterns of your food choices. Okay? When you look at this pattern, when you do this diet analysis, you're going to see an obvious pattern for your food choices. Okay, what's the nutritional value of those things? Is there nutritional value, or is it just energy dense? If you're eating a lot of energy dense stuff, more than likely you're going to be a little bit more overweight or obese. What's the effect these nutrients have? What are the effects these foods have on your overall diet and health? Well, one, it's going to influence the certain types of macronutrients that you consume, will dictate the amount of foods that you consume, but it's also going to dictate your health. I mean, diabetes, obesity, high blood pressure, metabolic syndrome. There are a number of negative health outcomes that's literally going to be littered from chapter 1 to chapter 18, whenever the heck we're done. I think it's 18 in this book. Okay, so a number of foods that you decide to shove in your mouth there really do affect you in that grand scheme of health. And at 19, 20, in your 20s, dude, you can eat anything and you're like, whatever, no big deal. But that does come to roost later on in life. And those food choices that you decide to do now in your 20s, in your 30s and 40s, they're going to have an effect on you. So it can affect your health long term. Okay, not just short term. Hell yeah, short term. But we're talking long term things. Another thing that goes into diet and your pattern of food choices, and there's a number of things that can influence this, and that's at the very end, are just some of your learned behaviors. How do you learn to eat? How do you learn what foods to eat? probably watching mom and dad. So, I mean, you get this ingrained in you. How long did you live with mom and dad? 10, 20 years before you eventually go out and move out? I mean, if you're watching somebody eat a certain way for 10 years, that's going to ingrain certain behaviors, and it's hard to change those behaviors. So really, this all starts day one. Okay, maybe I'm being over dramatic. From year 2 on, your kids see you. Your kids copy everything that you do. If you have kids, you know. If you don't have kids, just wait. Okay? Because everything that you say, they hear and repeat. Everything that you do, they see and repeat. So these learned behaviors, it happens way, 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 way early in life. In affecting a change early in life to 5 years old can have a huge impact on these behaviors for their entire life. All throughout the semester, we'll be talking about foods that we consume or nutrients that we consume. And I hate saying nutrients because nutrients are not, this holy entity that can cure you. It's the totality of everything you eat. But when we look at these food patterns for Americans, I mean, we get way above fats and oils. Fats and oils provide a huge amount of energy per serving. We don't need that much. But here in the States, we tend to eat a whole hell of a lot of that, which leads to a little bit of excess weight. And by little bit, I'm being nice, a lot of excess weight. Added sugars, excess sweeteners, calorie sweeteners, not the low calorie or no calorie sweeteners that we have. But all of those added sugars add up. That's why they've changed the food label on products and whatnot a couple years ago now, because it's not necessarily the natural sugars they're going to get you. It's all the added sugars that they put into it. We love meat, proteins, okay? Protein foods, that's meat, red meat, white meat, it don't matter, okay? Red meat has inherently more negative health outcomes when consumed in excess. But ultimately, you can get to that same point if you eat a lot of white meat, like chicken and grains. And I say that with a grain of salt, right? I know it's too early for that. But we consume a lot of processed, not a lot of whole grains. So processed grains we get a lot of, and that's not the best thing for us. Whole grains is what we want to consume a lot of, and those are the things that we generally don't get enough of. What do we not get a lot of? Vegetables, fruit. Only 9% of adults ate the recommended amount of vegetables. Only 12% of adults ate the recommended amounts of fruits. I think I have a stat over here. 2015 to 2018, more than 2/3 of adults aged 20 and over consumed any fruit. And then approximately 95% didn't consume any vegetable on any given day. So holy smokes, man. If that's you and you're not consuming a vegetable or a fruit, how in the hell are your kids going to know what the hell a fruit or a vegetable is, whether or not they want to taste it? So all of these things get ingrained early. How did you learn it? From your parents, okay? So it is a cycle. When we talk about children later on in the semester, there's an embarrassing stat that goes along with their consumption patterns. Their consumption patterns are just as bad, and if not worse. So it all starts early. If you could intervene early with some of these more healthier outcomes here, introducing these foods, you're going to see those results in the long term. At least that's what the science says. Where do all these poor eating habits lead to? These kind of major things: obesity, type 2 diabetes, metabolic syndrome, which is a collection of all 4 of these things. You said there's 3 here. This is high blood pressure. I'm just going to put BP for blood pressure. as well as heart disease. Okay. Atherosclerosis, arteriosclerosis, high blood pressure, heart disease, all of that gets encompassed into cardiovascular problems. Okay, so if we want to improve your overall health outcomes, if you want to live longer, preventing these 500-600 different things that can cause negative health outcomes and have you not feel good, then eat better, make better choices, incorporate exercise into your life. Having these positive lifestyle choices are huge when it comes to helping to prevent some of these very, very, very negative health outcomes.